Ewy Westermark uczestniczyła, prowadziła tak duże projekty jak Broadway Boulevard, projekt pilotażowy w Nowym Jorku, projekty w São Paulo, projekty w Wielkiej Brytanii. To są naprawdę duże zamierzenia inwestycyjne i projekty placemakingowe. Część z tych pomysłów, część z tych projektów z etapu ich realizacji będzie referowana przez panią Ewę Westermark. Please join us.
So I'm really happy to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me to this super exciting process and project. I would like to start talking a little bit about cities and people. Because usually when we talk about city planning, we think of buildings and the physical spaces. This is an example from Copenhagen. I will show you more examples, but this is one of the worst examples. They're not all good. Have to remember that, we can make mistakes. Here in Örestad, this new development, all the buildings are sustainable, really high level. All the material are high quality, and you have public transportation. Everything in plan seems to be exactly what is the right thing to do. But all these things together doesn't actually mean, I have to do it a little slow, doesn't actually mean that the behavior of the space, let's see if we can, there we go. So this is at eye level, the same space on the ground, and as you can see, this is really not a space which invites people to walk or to stay, to sit or to interact. The spaces are too big. It's really, really long sight lines, so the wind is coming towards you, so it's not a very pleasant bike ride either. There's no activity, no commercial activity, no shops, no nothing. And even if you would walk here, because you had to walk here, and you would have a friend on the other side, the space is so big you wouldn't even see or recognize this person. So it's, if we can't develop our cities really taking care of the eye level, then we're not successful, because we're not supporting a sustainable behavior. And this is, of course, where Gehl, he started his research 40 years ago, looking at how the city's spaces actually affects our behavior as people. We as people, we respond to invitations. And this situation, it's America. We'd like to sometimes make fun of America, but it's crazy. I mean, here you're invited to take the car to the gym, you're invited to take the escalator up, you walk inside, you pay money into an air-conditioned room, and then you simulate walking, or you simulate bicycling inside. And this is really upside down. And it's all happening because we as people, so basically what we can say about us as people is that all our senses have developed through years and years as walking animals. And this is in a very slow speed. We walk in about 5 kilometers an hour. And that makes it very important. I'm sorry about this. Here we go. So all our senses have really developed in order to experience spaces in this slow speed, which means that our brain needs a lot of stimuli, as much as 1 stimuli every 4 seconds. And really, because we haven't always had roads in place, we look down. So what is really the most important thing for us as people is the ground, is the public spaces, and it's the first floors of the buildings. It's not, you can very seldom see people walking around like this, only architecture students looking at the buildings. So we really have to take care of our spaces in the city. And we talk about 5 kilometers an hour spaces. It doesn't mean that you can drive 5 kilometers. It means that the space is actually inviting people to walk. It's good dimension, human dimensions, a lot of detailing that stimulate our senses. It invites people to stop and talk and meet. And then we of course have the examples of spaces that are not designed for this slow speed, but are designed for the quick speed, the fast speed. The signs grow enormously in order for people to understand it when going in 60 kilometers an hour or 70 kilometers an hour. The spaces grow, so it's really hard to meet someone, and there's nowhere to stop. and you think it's impossible to change, but yes, it can. The way we can change behavior is not to tell people, but really to change the city in order to invite people to change behavior. Adjusting priorities, it's not a matter of saying let's do walking streets everywhere. It's a matter of finding a way where we can coexist with traffic, with people, with bicycles, with public life. You slide? Yes. So here we have Copenhagen and the modal split, as we call, how people travel to and from work. And sorry, this is Krakow, this is Copenhagen. I'm not sure they're absolutely comparable because I don't know how this was measured. So maybe it's not fair thing, but it gives an indication. And I think it's interesting to see that in terms of bicycling, you have a great opportunity to strengthen this in the city. If it's true that it's only 1.2% that bicycle today. Copenhagen has 41% today, but a lot less people walking actually compared to Krakow. And this could be everywhere, but the key is to connect them so you have a consistent network. So this is the same map shown on Copenhagen. And of course, Copenhagen has been doing this for years and years. So it's just a matter of continue the path you're on. So adding places to rest along the way. And it's not a matter of this prioritizing. One of the biggest challenges cities has today is, of course, moving people. Like in all of Europe, this is on the top challenge. So how do we actually create more capacity in our streets? I think bicycling is one of the ways, knowing that you can actually move 5 times more people here than on one lane in the street. We're actually adding capacity, we're not reducing or taking away. Copenhagen has made an interesting calculation where they calculated not only the infrastructure cost, comparing the road construction to the bicycle construction, but also all the health benefits, people coming to work, not staying home, cost for society. And they concluded that for every 10 kilometers biked, people actually earned, the city earned 1.6 euros. But for every 10 kilometers driven, the people had to pay or lost 1.5 euro. So it's a socio-economical benefit as well. But it's not all about these facts and figures. It's about creating a lovely city. It's about actually having people in the streets, walking, cycling, meeting, public life. It's about creating an attractive city that consists of people. So what about the Superścieżka? Okay, thank you. So what I've done, I've looked very excitingly about all the projects, and I think that what's fascinating is really the process that you've been through, which should serve as a best practice example for more type of projects, and also the similarities in the projects, showing a lot of very nice and good intentions. So these are my 5 recommendations or goals that you would really sticking to in the process. So, and also a challenge for me now when the slides are translated, see if I remember what I actually wrote in English ones. So how do we go from this highway design, how do we actually get people connecting to the site and over the site, and actually focusing on the urban design of the spaces? And the first one is maybe just clear, but of course we focus on the actual project here, but we need to make sure that people can get here. So we need to think and hope that this is a catalyst to connect to the river, to connect to the university, to connect over the street. And I think that that was the one thing that I was really struggling with myself when I looked at the proposition, is that of course there is some, you want to connect over the street, over okay, help me here. Thank you, that was like a choir. So there is some suggestions of making a pedestrian overpath. It's super natural, of course. Connections is a key thing. But my question is that the right solution? Because public transportation stops are the future meeting places in our city, because that's where people spend time anyway. So the next recommendation is really to focus about going from space, inviting people to stay, to creating a place. And this, I think you've shown very well in this project, and the process supports this. It's finding out who is there now. What are the functions? You have lots of people working here, and more are to come. So thinking closely, how do we create a space that will accommodate for those users and those activities? How do we make a space that invites people to come out and use their laptop and work outside? Maybe you need some shelter from the sun, maybe it's Wi-Fi, maybe it's electricity. So really locally anchor the improvements, making sure that it's public and not private. And they of course are great because they're all different designs, it's very locally anchored.